I couldn't stand being in a meeting. I could not stand it. I felt so much worse. It just didn't resonate. It was so toxic at that time. My brain and my mind was so filled with complete paradigm shift from all that bullshit that I couldn't stand it anymore. That's when I started my podcast. If you want to say anything about Bobby C puts the message out. It's up to you. If it's meant to be, it's up to you.
Hello and welcome to the Sobriety Bestie podcast. I am super excited you are here today for a great episode with Bobby C from Anonymous Addiction Deprogramming podcast. Bobby, it is so great to have you on the show. Welcome.
Thank you, Kirsten. I appreciate it. We did two podcasts together, part one and part two on Anonymous Addiction Deprogramming podcast over there on YouTube. Check it out.
It was great to be on your show. We just did that a couple of days ago. I really appreciate all the work that you do. Yeah, so shout out, thank you. And where can people find you off the top if they want to come follow along with your deprogramming podcast?
On the YouTube channel, Anonymous Addiction Deprogramming Podcast. The private group is Anonymous Addiction, My Truth About AA, as Bobby C sees it.
I'll link that below for everybody who wants to come follow along.
And TikTok, it's the same. I was sitting in a meeting one day and I'm saying to myself, you know what? It's not as Bill sees it, it's as Bobby sees it. And it's just like any other, it's as Jill sees it, as John sees it, as you see it, not as Bill sees it. So that's why I did that, as Bobby C sees it.
I love it. So I know a little bit about your story. I know that you were never fully all the way in AA the way that I was, but I would like you to share with us a little bit about how long you were in AA and about how long ago you left AA, just to kick it off so people have a kind of a understanding of a bit of just the general story.
I came in 1984, February 27th, 1984. That's 41 years ago. There was no internet. Remember that. There's no internet. I was indoctrinated in the very beginning through society because society labeled people like myself alcoholics. My mother-in-law, her father was considered an alcoholic. So she even got programmed way before I did. So society was being programmed from the 90-year-old program when it started in 1934. So people just they just assume that we're going to be labeling this person alcoholic. So my story goes on and keeps on going on. And yes, I had a problem with alcohol. Okay, there's no question about it. I suffered a lot of consequences from my behavior, and my family and friends suffered too. But my wife was in Al Anon. She got in Al Anon. Thankfully, she did because I was driving her crazy. So she needed some help. So she went out to Al Anon because Al Anon was indoctrinated through society too. I'm talking 41 years ago. I was at like my wits' end, and so was she. So she goes to Al Anon, and I kind of felt threatened about it because she was getting a lot of independence. It really was kind of scary. And I'm 34 years old. I have two children. And she came to me after one of my sprees because you could consider me, I guess I was like a weekend warrior. When I went out, I didn't come back. I didn't come home. Did take off for a couple days. When they say via the bottle, I did escape via the bottle. It was an escape for me. It was a release to get away from the responsibility, I guess. I'm sure it was from the responsibility. She asked me, she says, you know what? I met this lady and she had her husband, his name is Lonnie, and he said he'd come over and talk with you because like the week before I jumped out of a car, I needed stitches in my head and some crazy shit happened like usual. And I said, yeah, bring him over. This guy came over. He had a beard. He had this old truck. He was a construction dude. I call him, he was a dope shooting, pharmacy robbing, Jack Daniels drinking construction dude. Okay. And when he walked in to the room, He was just a nice guy. He didn't bug me. He didn't have a big book in his hand. He didn't have one of these big book in his hand and he wasn't going like this. He wasn't a big book thumper. See how I cover my books? I covered them all because I was ashamed,
Mm.
actually, to be called an alcoholic. I was ashamed. Okay, that's why I covered them up. So he came in and he just asked me, he said, "You want to go to a meeting?" I said, "Yeah, I'll go Sunday." I told him when I wanted to go. Okay. He didn't force me and said, "You're going tonight, you're going tomorrow." I was lucky. I was lucky that I had this person come into my life. I'm still friends with him today after all these years, 41 years. So he comes in and he takes me, he says, "Sunday." I said, "Yeah, I'll go Sunday." So that was my first meeting. Where do we want to go from there?
About how long were you in AA and when did you leave?
So I was fully indoctrinated. I believed that I had this disease of alcoholism in the beginning. I believed that I had to live one day at a time, a daily reprieve. I went to a bunch of meetings. I lived in three different, back and forth to three different states. I had home groups in every state. I started meetings. I was in Alcoholics Anonymous, but I was not a big book thumper, definitely. From the very beginning, more or less, because I was lucky that this person came into my life, I called him a sponsor, but we were really friends, okay? Because he never took me through the steps. I don't even think he worked the steps himself, okay? But he was in the program. He believed in the program. He believed if we drank, we would go to die, institutions, or death. That's what we believed. I was in Alcoholics Anonymous. Is there layers in Alcoholics Anonymous? Yes. If you go to a meeting and you sit at a meeting, you will hear the minority controls the meeting. There's people that just come in one meeting a week. There's people that come in once a year and pick up a chip. There's people that come in and they come to once a week. They don't get involved with anything and they keep on coming back and they stay whatever they do clean and sober, or they don't, or they're going out drinking or whatever. They don't have sponsors. They don't go to step meetings or big book meetings and stuff like that. There's layers and there's cults within the cults. Okay, as we all know, there's the Pacific group. I got a book right here, Cults Within a Cults. Like there's cults that get into this stuff. They write their own books, back to the
Yeah.
basics and back to the 40s. So there's cults within a cult. But I'm like my own person, even though I'm in, because I'm not doing everything they're telling me to do. I'm not buying everything all at once. Okay. They tell you the meetings maker makes meeting making meters make it. How do you say it? Me,
Meeting
me,
makers make it.
meeting makers make it. Well, I went to one meeting a week. That was my home group. Lonnie came over. We went to one meeting a week, and I still was staying sober. Okay, I still was doing it. I tried to prove them wrong and everything, but eventually I end up doing everything no matter what
Mm.
because I have to not only prove them wrong, but I got to prove them by doing it too that it's wrong.
Yeah.
All right. How else would I have known any of this? Okay. So eventually, yeah, I did the steps. I did get a different sponsor. So getting back, where should I go with this?
Well, I want to gather an idea of how long were you there and how long ago you left. It sounds like you joined 41 years ago and that maybe you left 7 years ago. So maybe you were in AA about 35, 30 something years. Like you
I
had a
was
lot of
in
time in
air.
as an AA member on varying levels of participation.
That's 35. That's the 35. That's 6 years ago. I picked this up because I didn't want to pick it up. I went in because a friend said, "Come on in and get a chip." I was advertising a smart recovery meeting. I think I mentioned that to you. So I did pick up my last chip. It was 35 years ago, which all these are the carrot and the sticks. So there are things that keep us coming back for these things here. They're just things that keep us coming back. So each year I went up and got my medallion. Where did the medallions come from? Where did see? No one in Alcoholics Anonymous, like myself, when I was really in, I learned more about Alcoholics Anonymous after I left
Mhm.
because I wanted to help people deprogram and I wanted to see where I was in all this so I can reflect back by deprogramming it because I was always deprogramming anyhow. If I look back at it in a sense. So they told me you got to go to step. I didn't go to a step meeting for a year. Okay. 1 year. I stayed sober. How did I do that? I wasn't doing the steps. It's crazy. I proved it wrong again. So eventually I go to step meetings. Actually, what I'm doing here is I'm telling my story, but I'm helping people deprogramming as I'm telling my story. This big book written in 1939, 90 years ago, the steps control the members. They control us. They control our mind and our body. The steps control the members. The 12 traditions controls the groups. And then this book here, which a lot of people don't ever even get or see, that's the 12 concepts. Okay. Now, these 12 concepts control the world organization. This thing is kind of deeper than a lot of people realize. We don't realize when we're in because we're only doing this service work, and we don't really understand it. What we're doing is we're becoming lifetime servants. We're becoming lifetime slaves to somebody else's ideology and somebody else telling us what to think, believe, say, and how to feel. Okay. That's why I do this. If anyone's coming out of detox and they're going into a rehab, some people been to 2 rehabs, 3 rehabs, 5 rehabs, 10 rehabs. I've been in rehabs. I've worked in rehabs. Even in the rehab, the therapist doesn't control the group. The minority of the AA people that are really doing the program, they control the group. Okay. Because you're going to go from detox to rehab to maybe a halfway house or right into Alcoholics Anonymous. You're indoctrinated really good. So the 12 traditions, here's another little thing. Even the trustees, they're the big shots. They're the ones up top. 14 people, okay? They're the big ones. And they're professionals. In the days when AA was unknown, it was the non-alcoholic trustees who held up our hands before the general public. They supplied us with ideas. And where did the main trustees come from? Frank Amos, they all came from Rockefeller. Okay. In the beginning, all the main trustees, I think Dr. Bob was the only trustee they let on there because they need not maintain anonymity. They are always available to appear in public and on behalf of AA. And they're all medical professionals. The Class A trustees, 2 consecutive 3-year, that's 6 years. They're all lawyers, clergies, psychologists, like business people, finance experts. Most people don't realize how deep this thing is and how the pyramid, I got the pyramid marked. They want us to believe it's an upside down pyramid, but it's definitely not an upside down pyramid. It's a pyramid where the top control everything throughout the whole system. And we are just the servants and slaves of Alcoholics Anonymous to promote it.
How is this liberating or important to understand? What's the benefit from really seeing this reality?
Illusion is that this is the way and this is the cure. It's an illusion. It's a illusion into another religion. See, the temperance movement, first of all, I'm going to go in a couple different ways. It's trickery, actually. It's an occult. A cult is an occult. If you believe in a cult, if you know about occult knowledge, an occult means hidden knowledge. It's a hidden trickery to get you to believe that the cure is in this program, which it's not. And it's totally religious. I can show over and over and over how it is religious. Just little stuff like this here. Dr. Bob, okay, where did these chips come from? Where do you think the chips came from? What idea how did they come up with the carrot and the stick with the chip? Well, I'll tell you, because see this sister, hey, look, I was a Catholic. I grew up Catholic. So, Catholicism, the Catholic Church, I know it. Okay. I know it a little bit. This is Sister Ignatius. Okay. And now people have heard of her, Sister Ignatius. She was a nun. because St. Thomas, where Dr. Bob worked for years, was a Catholic religious hospital. Sister Ignatius gave each of her newly released patients a Sacred Heart medallion. And that's where they got the medallions from, is from the Catholic Church, the Sacred Heart, which is the heart of Jesus Christ. Okay. Now I'm just connecting a couple little dots. If you go on from there, even Bill, let's just go to Bill, because these books, Dr. Bob and the Good Old Drunks, there's information in there, but you got to connect the dots. You got to do the research. This gentleman here, okay, is Reverend Samuel Shoemaker, helped to lead the early members towards spiritual principles embodied in the 12 steps. Now, everybody heard of Reverend Samuel Shoemaker, right? Now, how about,
And for those who haven't, he was a strong leader in the Oxford group, isn't that right? And he's the one who Bill tried to commission to write the 12 steps, and he said, no, thank you, Bill.
right? I mean, everything in Alcoholics Anonymous has been borrowed. People say stolen. No, it's been borrowed. And a lot of stuff is too, because we build on stuff we learn from others and we take their stuff and create our own. And that's what happened here. Rockefeller wanted to create his own temperance movement, his own religion, because even though he gathered it from all the other religions, okay, see this guy right here? This guy right here, he's a Jesuit priest. Jesuits are the people that recruit. They go out into the world and recruit others to the Catholic religion. Now, Father Edward Dowling wandered in out of the rain one night and into a 20-year spiritual sponsorship. Father Edward Dowling was Bill's sponsor for 20 years. All right. So you got Sister Ignatius, you got the Catholic Church, you got the Oxford group, you got the Christians, you got a bunch of them. Let's make our own, but call it a spiritual program. Everything A, B, and C God couldn't would if he were sought. Forget about getting sober or clean. When I talk about deprogram, I'm not just talking about AA. I'm talking about the other 20 shoot offs. And when I say AA, I'm saying ANA too.
Mhm.
And Marijuana Anonymous, Meth Anonymous, Heroin Anonymous, you name them. There's just so many spin-offs. It's crazy, and you know all about them. So you got to go back into the history. Bill was more the crazy son of a bitch. He was the one that was experimenting with the LSD, but oh no, he wasn't a cross addicted. No. Everybody knows that Dr. Bob was cross addicted too, because he used sedatives all the time. He used pills. And I'm not saying that I'm better than Dr. Bob or Bill or anybody else. I'm still can be a pain in the ass. Okay. You can ask my wife or my daughter. Okay. But I'm still searching. I'm still growing. I'm still learning throughout this.
What do you no longer believe about 12-step ideology that you once believed was true? What are some of the myths that you've busted?
I don't use labels anymore. That's for darn sure. I don't raise my hand. And the most powerful words in the universe is I am. They're not going to hijack my identity no more, because that's what, as soon as you raise your hand and say, I am an alcoholic, you're giving over your identity. They're creating an identity for you. So that's the secret. That's the cultism. I'm actually not even just a deprogrammer. I'm a de-occultist. Okay. Because this is deeper than people even realize. So I'm not using labels: addict, alcoholic, paralysis, disease. I don't believe in the DSM-5s, because I did research deep on the DSM-5s and the APAs and medical associations and the connections with Rockefeller. But I did deep dives, and I've done podcasts, and I'm still doing deep dives with it. So I don't even buy the DSM-5s with the disorder thing, because if you really read it, if I pulled out something, it still says brain disease. It still says brain disease in there. Are we in a disorder as far as holistically speaking? Yes. Is it a dis-ease? Are we at dis-ease? I was at disease and disorder yesterday when I went through some stuff that was going on with my family, and I was at dis-ease and dis disorder.
Yeah.
Okay.
But being at dis-ease yesterday because you had something stressful going on or something that was taking away your ease would not mean that you're diseased, which
No.
is what Bill claims, that because you're not at ease, you are diseased, which is very different and creates a learned helplessness.
Some people that are listening, look, if you're still in Alcoholics Anonymous and it's helping you, it's doing what you want, even though I know that they have created it for you, but that's okay. It's a spiritual conversion. It's a religious conversion. There's no question in my mind that it's a religious conversion. Carl Jung sent Roland Hazard after the Oxford group, and he said, I can't help you. Well, damn, if psychiatrists or psychologists and one of the best known psychiatrists can't help a person, and he's got to send them over to the Oxford group or some religious organization because he can't get through to them. He knows because everybody knows, all the professionals. It's got to come from you. What Alcoholics Anonymous is. It's definitely a cult. It's a religion. There's no question about it. But getting back to it, if you like to join a religion, that's what you're in. But if you're enjoying it, if you're getting something out of it, if you're not creating all chaos and you're not doing as much harm to you, even though they hijack your body, mind, and soul, if you're okay with that, if you want some real freedom from that, then listen to some podcasts and do some deprogramming while you're in. Just have some discernment and judgment. But Alcoholics Anonymous, it tells you don't judge. Okay. Judging is an important factor in life. Discernment is very important for you to judge your surroundings, to think, question, become aware, observe. They don't teach us that in Alcoholics Anonymous. Religion, it's coercive persuasion. What does coercive persuasion mean? How do they do that? How does it happen? It's a subliminal messaging trance. We're in a trance, actually. We are taught to be brainwashing ourselves. People talk about, we use different words. We use the word self-fulfilling prophecy. So we create our self-fulfilling prophecies through this repetitive, because the mother of brainwashing is through repetition. Okay. But the occult uses it the opposite way. So we're in a trance, repetition. Alcoholics Anonymous, without it, I wouldn't be where I'm at deprogramming it if I wasn't in the cult.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be able to talk about this. I might have been stuck in the delusion of, because when I talk about deprogramming, I'm talking about deprogramming everything. Alcoholics Anonymous is just the tip of the iceberg in deprogramming our societal's indoctrination and lies. We've been lied to since birth about many, many, many different things. Okay. So I don't only deprogram Alcoholics Anonymous. This is just a start. So it was a start for me. It helped me to be where I'm at. Now, look, like I told you, I'm far from a saint. I'm far from perfect. Okay. But I'm breaking loose of a lot of different programming systems, religion, media, politics, Hollywood, you name it, a bunch of other stuff that infiltrate. How do you think society has been infiltrated by Alcoholics Anonymous through all those mechanisms? Why do you think the alcohol industry, pharmaceutical industry, and Netflix loves AA? They're in love with it. They have to have AA because they have to have a disease model, because only a bunch of people, only a little spectrum of us are diseased and we're alcoholic. Okay. Why do you think Netflix has booze drink? People say, oh, Bobby, what are you, a prohibitionist? No, I'm just telling you reality. I'm just talking reality. Don't shoot the messenger. I'm just telling you what is real, because alcohol is a carcinogen poison, and I drank it, and people love it. So is so many other things, and I'm taking poison in still today. Okay. I'm aware of what's poison, even though I'm still taking it. I think you did the podcast with the beautiful lady from, like, I don't know, Sweden or somewhere. I don't know. And she chose to come back and do some moderate drinking.
Yeah, MF in Finland.
Yeah. And that's great. But she says, see, she's aware, she's honest that she knows that it's a carcinogen
It's a
poison.
poison. It's a
And,
poison.
yeah, and she knows it, but she takes it just like I take other different types of poison.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think it's about being perfect. They had me think that I was supposed to be sober from everything and perfect all the time. Everything had to be like controlled. And really, I was supposed to dismiss my higher self from my lower self and only be one part of my personality instead of all of it, which is impossible. So whenever I was anything else, then I have to like try to get myself back controlled. It's not realistic to try to pretend that you're a saint and that you're always amazing. And I think that's what so many people struggle with because you get these old timers or long timers in AA given a good game as far as their talk, and then their walk outside of the rooms is a little bit different because you're not allowed to be totally honest in the rooms about what the walk is really like. And what's really reality is that we're all of the things just in different intensities. Like we all have all the traits basically. And it's just how often are you doing these things? Like you're talking about you're not perfect and you might have a disagreement with a family member like we all do, but in AA it's like demonized to not put on that front. It's a front.
Yeah, it's a false mask. It's masks that we all wear. We all put masks on. I'm not saying that we don't, but we all put these masks on. Yeah, but look, I have great friends in Alcoholics Anonymous. I had some beautiful people, okay? Let me tell you something.
Mhm.
But I chose them. They didn't choose me. I chose them, okay? I picked them, and they were good friends. And you know what I learned about friends in Alcoholics Anonymous? I never picked anybody that was going to do this to me. Nobody's going to do, but they were in Alcoholics Anonymous, but they knew not to do that, okay? But I used to hang with them, so I knew when one of my old buddies, I used to sit over and smoke cigars in the back of his house in Fountain Hills, Arizona, when I lived there, and we'd talk all kinds of stuff. We'd take drives, and he'd be so friggin' I'm angry still today. Okay, I get angry. See, the seven deadly sins are bullshit. It's seven emotional embodied. They're just emotions, they're feelings, they're natural human being emotions that we deal with. They're not sins. We don't have to go to Alcoholics Anonymous to learn that stuff. But the indoctrination is everywhere. And people, it's so subtle that people are getting back to Netflix. So Netflix, oh, I'm watching one yesterday. I'm watching The Arrow. And even in The Arrow, it's there. There's a program. She's trying to get the father's trying to get the daughter to go to meetings of alcohol because she's popping some pills, AA. And then, but during the whole other portion of Netflix, they're drinking bottles of booze down like it's nothing. But normal people don't drink like that and just walk around like it did nothing. These people are drinking, then they're driving. It's like they're not only the ones that are going to the meetings. Okay, they're the problem. That's why I say the alcohol industry loves Alcoholics Anonymous. Where else you want to go?
There are a lot of people who are in Alcoholics Anonymous and who have been there for decades. And some of these people who have been there for decades and are true believers and lifelong recruiters, meaning they have sponsees, they go into hospitals and institutions, and they're doing all this recruiting to get people into Bill Wilson's cult religion, AA. They're also having positions in authority in Hollywood and other places. So when they're going to write a movie or direct a movie or produce a movie, they're going to influence it. And there might not be a lot of pushback because most people think AA is a way as a society because the global indoctrination. I have never once, and I'm not saying it doesn't exist, I have never once seen a movie where smart recovery was where the person went when they were getting sober, or rational recovery, or I just read this book, Alan Carr's Easy Way. I've just never seen these other Alan Carr's Easy Way to Quit Drinking Without Willpower. I've just never seen these other recovery or sobriety paths mentioned in Hollywood. So I think there's a lot of higher ups who are super, like, I feel like in Bill Wilson's religion, is if you are in a position of authority, you feel like it's your duty that you are, quote, saving lives. So you are going to recruit through your career. And what better way to do that than blast it out to millions of people on a Netflix documentary or show?
Yeah, no, Hollywood is an indoctrinated system. The movie started for propaganda purposes. That's how movies started. I'll just get this thing here, right here. See, like when I say connect the dots and follow the power, the money, I don't care because that's exactly how recruiting
Yeah.
goes. See, you get two sponsors, they get to and they get two, and
So
it
it looks
grows.
like what you're holding up looks like a pyramid for the people listening on the podcast. You're holding up what looks like a pyramid structure.
Yeah, I just drew this out because I know about it because I was in A.L. Williams, which was a pyramid scheme. I got this book. Look, it's called Compound Recruiting, the magic, okay? The magic, because words cast spells upon us, so be careful. Okay, so the magic of compound recruiting. This isn't from AA, but they take it from these things. That's what I'm saying. Everything is taken from outside, but people don't want. And then people say, Bobby, why do you care about any of the politics or care about it? That's what they used to say when I was in meetings and saying stuff outside. I was ambivalent. I had cognitive dissonance. I was back and forth. That's when I told you, remember, I didn't go to a lot of meetings. I didn't go to a step meeting for a year, blah, 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 but I did it anyhow.
Hmm.
Okay. So I had to do these things. Okay. But did I ever give my will and my life over? Who really does that? Okay. How many people give their will and their entire life over to their care of Alcoholics Anonymous? A lot of people do, but the majority don't. Here's a point that I like to make about that, though. Bill was indoctrinated. Okay, Bill Wilson, he was indoctrinated by Ebby.
Hmm.
He was a victim of his own society, and he didn't create it. See, if Bill did not create any of this shit, he just was a
Right.
puppet. He was a puppet. Him and Bob were master puppets of this master plan, but this religious plan. Go ahead.
That's why I don't blame Bill. That's why I don't blame anyone. That's why I don't blame my sponsor because it was all done to us and we didn't really realize what was being done to us and we turned around and did it to somebody else. It was all unconscious. We didn't really get it. We believed we had good intentions. Ebby believed he had good intentions when he recruited Bill into the Oxford group. Bill believed he had good intentions when he went to hospitals and was trying to recruit people into the Oxford group and then later into AA. So I don't blame Bill. I don't blame Dr. Bob or my sponsor or my sponsor's sponsor or any of the lineage or any of that, or even the controlling people in the meetings or the old timers or the book thumpers or any of that. Because it's like there's nobody to blame. Nobody is home. Nobody is there knowing that they're harming. I don't think there's people in AA who know it's bullshit who are still trying to spread it on. People believe it. That Bill was recruited into the Oxford group heavily by his friend Ebby. I have no anger towards Bill for any of this. I think it's all Bill shit, the whole thing. To me, there's nobody to blame. I do think having the anger and all of the grieving process is important in the beginning, but I am left with zero blame, zero anger about it. It's like I'm not blaming myself anymore for the people that I indoctrinated, my sponsees, or the people that heard me speak in a meeting. I've forgiven myself for that. And now I'm actually saying what I think is the truth in my own podcast and stuff. But it happened to Bill too.
That's right. Bob and Bill. Dr. Bob was the Pope of the 12 steps. They made him the Pope. He was the leader. It says it in the book. People say there's no leaders in Alcoholics Anonymous. They were the leaders. Okay. I don't give a shit. And you still worship and you're putting them on coins. Okay. Their faces on. Who you are doing it. The people, we are doing it. They didn't even care. They didn't even want it. They probably didn't even look. Bill was having fun. He had a 15-year relationship with Helen Wynn. Everybody else knew it. He was doing his LSD once in a while and doing this and Ouija boards and everything else. But he was a human being. Okay. Bill was kind of like a rebel. Dr. Bob was more, I think he was more religious than anybody, Dr. Bob. But getting
Yeah.
back to the elder statesman.
And Dr.
Oh,
Bob was in the Oxford group for 2 years before he ever got sober, before Bill then converted him into Bill's version of the Oxford group and into sobriety, using the Oxford group for sobriety. Dr. Bob was already religious. Bill was not. Bill was like, screw this, Abby.
yeah.
And then he was like, I'll do it.
Yeah, look, if you were on Belladonna as many times as Bill Wilson was on it, you'd have spiritual awakenings too. I mean, what the hell? I mean, come on.
I have also been on the mountaintop with the wind that is God blowing in my hair and my face, like Bill had. I've had my own white light experiences on psychedelics. I even recoded my DNA with light one time on ayahuasca down in the Amazon River in Peru. That was all fun and great. And I don't know how much of that's real and how much of that is consciousness and its reality and how much of it's a hallucinogen or DMT in your brain or whatever. But never once did I come back from that and decide that I'm going to then try to convince other people to have the same experience I had, because that's the way for everybody, or else you're going to die. I love that Bill liked psychedelics. I love that Bill wrote a book. I love that Bill wanted to be successful. That's great. But Bill was lying. It was baloney. And it's coercive control. I have a problem with the cult aspect. I have no problem with the religious aspect, except that it's denied. But I have a problem with the cult aspect. If you want to join
Yeah,
a religion, have at it. Just be honest that it's a religion. I don't care.
yeah, yeah. No, you mentioned cult. Cult, the definition of a cult is a society group that is defined by its unusual religious, spiritual, or philosophical beliefs, or by its common interest in a particular personality, object, or goals. Personality, Bill W. and Dr. Bob, they had to make two puppets. Okay. Object, AA coins, their literature, key tags with NA. And the goals, lifetime devotion. It's a lifetime servitude, lifetime slavery.
Mhm.
Addicted means slavery, it's bondage, addicted back in the olden days. Opposing critical thinking, isolation of members and penalized if they leave, emphasizing special doctrine, seeking inappropriate loyalty to their leaders, dishonoring the family unit, separation from the world. It's a religion. I mean, period.
It's fine that it's a religion, but it's a religion. I have no problem with religion. It's a religion. Just be
It's a
honest about it. Problem
religion.
with lies. My problem is with the gaslighting.
Yeah, all the literature. This is all from the grapevine. This is where the money is made, the grapevine, because Alcoholics Anonymous is two corporations. You got the World Service Inc., one corporation. You got the other side, Grapevine Inc., where the money comes in both sides. Big, big bucks. Okay. I mean, the CEO gets paid probably about $370,000 a year. Is there a CEO in Alcoholics Anonymous? Yes, there is. Who do you think buys these? Where does the money come from? For the newcomer. Okay, make sure you got a newcomer packet. Get you a little brainwashed a little quicker if you read them. They had to keep on making money. They have to keep the membership going. So atheists and agnostics got big in Canada. Okay, AA Agnostica. And there's a publishing company, Rebellion Dogs Publishing Company. They're big. They just figured out how to make a bunch of money off of Alcoholics Anonymous and keep them in and become atheists and agnostics. So AA had to write a new book, One Big Tent. One Big Tent is for the atheist and agnostic. AA members share their own experience. And then they had to write this one too. They had to come out with another pamphlet called The God Word for the Atheist and Agnostic, just to keep their membership nice and strong. You think you're an agnostic, all you're doing is labeling yourself something that you're not in Alcoholics Anonymous, because it was very tangible and it is easy to understand and to contact. It is the fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous that they are attracted to. It's AA as their God. Alcoholics Anonymous is their God. Bill W. and Dr. Bob is their God. So they had to write these books. And then, of course, they had to come out with the plain language big book, a book to read a book for fifth grade levels.
I,
Back in the olden days, I looked up words in the dictionary
Mhm.
and I had to highlight them because there's a lot of goofy words in the big book and figure them out. But they had to come up with another book because they got to recruit more people. It's the constant recruiting mechanism. If it's not literature through the grapevine, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pages of just literature and documentation, the money that is made. Go through some of the websites and go through some of the donation buttons. People donate houses, they donate wills. There's a cap for supposedly members, I think a $5,000 cap, but for other people, there's no limit. Okay. You can do as much as you want, as long as you want. So, what we need to get into, because we have a mental health and addiction, substance and process addiction crisis, it's not getting better. It's getting worse. Okay. It keeps on getting worse. It's not getting better. Everybody look up the word paradigm shift. We have to get into this paradigm shift out of the 12-step modality, which we're doing. There's no question about it. It's happening. We're creating that.
Yeah.
As we speak, we are creating paradigm shift.
What
Okay.
helped you create a paradigm shift that enabled you to leave AA? What shifted in you? Even though you've always been like a free thinker, something shifted in you, which had you stop going to meetings. At some point, you're like, I'm done, it's over. What happened in you for that paradigm shift?
It was it was like osmosis. Okay. It was slow. It wasn't no shift like that. I didn't have one like that. It was a slow programming, deprogramming, programming. Remember, I talked about the cognitive dissonance.
Mhm.
And then remember, I told you 5 years. Okay. I picked up this 35 year, but 5 years prior to that, I started to work in Fountain Hills because in Fountain Hills, I started a big meeting. I brought a little meeting out into the public, big Catholic church meetings, and I started like 5 groups, 5 meetings. I mean, I was known in my town. I could have been, if I would have stayed in, I could have been a elder statesman because people looked up to me because I spoke my mind and I didn't bullshit either. But people could have looked up to me for AA as saint. No, no. I'd rather been a bleeding deacon, and that's what I was, a bleeding deacon. And they use these two terms to ostracize the person that speaks out. People probably took it as I was angry because I was speaking my own mind and stuff. Because I used to go to meetings over here in California, Fountain Valley. I remember a girl say, "You're angry. You're pretty angry," because the way I was sharing in meetings and stuff like that. Because I was hitting them with truth bombs, and they felt it. So they felt that was anger when it was truth. It was only truth. It wasn't anger. I was just telling what I discovered. So I'm over throughout the times, the last maybe 20 years or whatever. I'm going against some of these elder statesmen because the elder statesman's the old sucker that sits in the back there and he's not saying nothing, but everybody's looking at him or her, right? They're all looking at his reaction. Is he nodding or is he shaking his head like that? Or what's he going to say afterwards? Like that elder
Yeah.
statesman has 50 years. He could have been the biggest asshole for 50 years because I was an asshole for many years. And he could have been the biggest asshole for 50 years and didn't learn nothing, didn't grow nothing, didn't transform,
Totally.
didn't do no metaphysics, didn't learn anything else but what he learned in there. And he's got the knowledge. And then the person that comes in there with a year, right? Oh, they go back. No, let's say they have 2 years. Okay. And they're pretty intelligent. They're pretty smart. They're pretty knowledgeable. They got some wisdom because they learned some stuff before even they came in. Right. So they go back out and they slip. Oh, you lost the 2 years. Let's start over. Start over what? You didn't lose nothing. What'd you lose? 2 days, 2 weeks, a year, whatever. And the other stuff didn't count. All the information, all the knowledge, all the wisdoms you got, this still has. Even
Yeah.
people that are drinking, even people that are drunk or drinking, that doesn't mean they're not learning. That doesn't mean they're not getting education. They're not having spiritual awakenings. They're not aware, enlightened. They're not becoming something. They're not growing. Some people aren't. Now, I'm admitting that some people are not doing anything. I'm a pessimist and an optimist. In reality, I'm in the truth, what I see, observational experience through all these years. I see it. Look, I'm older than a lot of people, so I see a bunch of shit that maybe somebody else didn't see or know something that somebody else didn't know. I'm learning from you, and I learn from all types of people, Tara and everybody. I'm learning from people. I'm not going to concede the things that maybe I know that we need to go back to instead of forward. Okay. Maybe there's some things that we need to go back to that are lacking because it's almost like a never ending with this alcohol and drugs and process addiction. It gets
Yeah.
worse. And
Yeah, it's trapping us forever is what I have such a problem with because at my core, I believe that we're here to evolve, that I'm here to evolve. And so by definition, that means that any system or program or whatever, any structure that I put myself into is temporary and it's to hold me until I can evolve through it or past it. That's what at my core, I always had the cognitive dissonance where I knew I'm here to evolve, but AA says you can never evolve out of us. And so I always had that dissonance, like, but wait, if this is true, then this can't be true. And so I held them both. And that's such a freedom that we have, like out here after deconstructing, is that we can see our cognitive dissonance that still happen and we can true them up through critical thinking. What do I actually believe about this? Not what do I have to believe because I think I'm going to die otherwise, But what do I actually believe? If I could go back, I wouldn't go to AA and I wouldn't recommend going to it. But I'm grateful and glad that I have gone through the experience of been indoctrinated into a cult religion and then have deconstructed out of it because my worldview now I can look at all of society's ideology and indoctrination, and I can more easily choose what makes sense to me through critical thinking and that reality that you're talking about. It's not pessimism, it's not optimism. It's like what feels real and true to me based upon all of my research and taking in what some of the experts say, but not taking it as truth, like you say with the DSM-5. It's being this level of or kind of critical thinker. I don't think I would have ever been here where I am now had I not been in a cult and popped out of a cult. So I'm happy that I went through it, but I wouldn't recommend
No,
it.
exactly, exactly. No, I know exactly what you mean because I was there. I felt it. I
Yeah.
was there. I had the cognitive dissonance all along. It was a process. I was learning and unlearning where I was in, okay? Because I had no people, I had no other way to go. I didn't know any other recovery mechanism. No one ever, till the very end of my going to meetings, I remember a person mentioning smart recovery
Yeah.
one
But
time.
you got sober February 27th, 84, and it was 94 that Smart Recovery came about. So you were already 10 years sober.
Yeah, but I didn't hear nobody mention smart
Right.
recovery.
Of course not.
I did not hear anybody. I'm not blaming them because I could have did some research myself, which I didn't do.
Right. And you
Okay.
didn't tell anybody else about it either. So there's no one to blame.
Yeah, no, there's no blame, but it wasn't what it didn't become aware in the when we're talking, look, I'm talking about corporations are an entity. They're not people. We're talking about a society. This is this is built. This is designed. These societies are designed and built to last and program us for a long time. Okay. I lived in Fountain Hills for 13 years. I'm caregiving an elder couple. I'm doing this for 5 years. And during this 5 years, I go to AA meetings once in a while because I have this commitment. And I'm flying back because I was in charge of everything. I was in charge of the whole state. At the end, after they both passed away, I had to settle the estate and everything. So I'm going to meetings occasionally. I see all these new people coming in, and I see them being brainwashed, indoctrinated with these old timers. And I used to always throw something out, and I'd piss them off, but I didn't give a shit because I'll tell you one thing: I had courage enough to speak out. And many people after I spoke said, "Oh, Bobby, I'm so glad you said that. I would never said that. I'm glad." But I didn't do it in a like this mean. I just stated a fact and kind of checked out some things because I was deprogramming this book years ago because when I went to step meetings and big book meetings, I was creating my own program a little bit. Never gave my will in my life over entirely. Did I do a third, fourth, and fifth? Yeah, I did a fourth and fifth. Did I do a sixth and seventh? I might have said it because all it is words. I'm entirely ready to have God remove these defects of character. Yeah, okay, I'm ready. Eighth and ninth, did I do it? Yeah, I did the best I can. Did I do a good job? No, because I didn't trust any son of a bitches. I had to go to a priest once in a while, and I go to this one. They always say, well, keep on saying it until it don't leave you. It's in your memory. Okay, you could swish it out of there, but you can recall it anytime you want to recall it because see, Alcoholics Anonymous wants you to believe that this stuff vanishes. All they're giving you is a religious conversion.
I love your process of deprogramming while you were in AA and not ever getting fully programmed and kind of walking a line of deprogramming and programming at the same time in there. That's not my story, but that is so relatable for so many people. And that might even be the biggest way because I was super at the center of a true believer. Like I thought it was all true. I was not deprogramming at all until one day it was like, boom, it was over. Like kind of like the day I found out Santa's not real. It was like, boom, AA's over. For me, it was very dramatic from I was all into, oh shit, none of it's real. And it was startling. And so I think your journey is more relatable and more common. Did you know your last meeting was going to be your last meeting or
It,
what was that happened there?
okay, here's that. I was just going to get into that. Okay. And I'm glad you brought that up so I didn't lose train of thought. So I'm caregiving. I'm sponsoring a person that's got like 28 years. They're just asking me to be the sponsor so he could say he's got a sponsor. And I know it. It's bullshit. I know it. He goes in meetings. And so he called me. hey, Bobby, you're being selfish. You're not going to many meetings. You're being selfish and you got to give it away to keep it. And you could be helping these people because they knew I did help people. I helped a lot of people. So they're saying that you come back and blah, blah, blah. So I was getting stuff like that, little guilt trips and shit, but it didn't bother me because I was getting very powerful in my sense because I was getting so much information and knowledge and awareness of truth
Mm.
that I was becoming confident. I was pretty confident, not arrogant or not egotistical, but very confident in my understanding of reality. Not my understanding of reality. I'm talking about objective reality. I'm not talking about subjective. There is objective reality. Okay. There is truth. Okay. There is natural universal laws that just always happens. Okay. So I studied them in a little bit. But going back to the meetings, right? I became a smart recovery facilitator and started a bunch of meetings. I found a place that they let me have, and went into that last meeting, a meeting when I got that ship. And they say, "Is there any outside person that wants to say something?" And I'd say, "Yeah, I got a smart recovery meeting down the street. Come on over to smart recovery and check it out." And I didn't even go there. Then the pandemic hit. Okay, so I had to stop all that anyhow, and that's when I really jumped into podcasting
So you left
online.
AA around when the pandemic started.
Yeah, completely. But I left. I was transitioned out, and I believe I'm a student and a teacher, and so are you. We're all student and teachers, but all the teachers say the same thing. It's got to come from us, and we have to do the work inside. It's got to come from us, higher self. This is the higher self. I am this thing that they call the God is inside of me. I am the higher self. I just don't like the word God. That's all because
Yeah.
it's misused. All you got to do is say infinity. Is anything behind infinity? No, there's nothing behind infinity. So, creator, hey, if there's infinity and nothing else is behind infinity, then was it ever created or was it always? It wasn't created, it was always. That's a philosophical thing, but if you really get into infinity, if you want to go deep,
I love that you have taken the time away from the religion that you either grew up in or were born in, and away from the religion that you joined in 1984 called Alcoholics Anonymous. And you've really looked at, what do I believe? What's true for me? What makes sense to me? What does the science say? What are the laws of the universe? And you've come to what it sounds like your own very well developed spirituality or understanding of the world based upon truths that make sense to you and that you could either prove or just cognitively vibe with you. Or I love that you've come to your own understanding of life in the world. Not that you have all the answers, not that you're perfect, but that you've made peace with reality and how you exist within it. And I feel like that's the goal. And I feel like that's something that we can't get when we're in AA because we're still living by, I call it OPB, we're still living by other people's beliefs. Like, are you down with OPB? No, no, no. We got to figure out our own beliefs, not the ones that we have to believe because we're coerced into believing, but you've taken that time to unpack things. And so I love that part of your message is deprogram and reprogram. And so it's like you're reprogramming yourself with what your understanding of the truth, what vibes with you, and universal truth. I just love that. I feel like that's, yeah, it's really inspiring, honestly.
well, you're doing the same. You've been doing the same thing, and we're kind of on the same page with that. That's why it kind of resonates with you, I think, because you understand it and you're doing it. And you're right. I couldn't have put it. I wish you could type out those words that you just said and send them to me because I could never have said it that way.
Hmm.
That's exactly where I'm at. I'm at a place where I know maybe it's almost like you get into a lonely place because you know too much. Okay. Not, I didn't say I know it all.
Sure.
I said just I know too much. Okay. People will say that's egotistical.
I hear you. And I hear you. And this comes to my mind, and I think you'll relate to this. This comes to my mind quite often when I get the trolls or the AA, the steppers on my channel saying baloney that's from the ideology. I feel like I can see what's happening here, but you can't. And I don't mean that in an arrogant way. And I see their blind spots from the ideology. And I feel like it's not fair if I even engage with them because they're not seeing what's happening here. I feel like I have the gun at they brought a knife or like a stick and I have a gun and I'm like I can't even fire this thing. When you see a bigger picture, it engaging with somebody who doesn't see that bigger picture, it's more like an awareness to what seems to be or appears to be somebody else's lack of awareness in a specific thing. It's not arrogance, it's clarity. So, anyways, that's what I'm taking from what you said.
No, it's exactly because we do. Look, I do these podcasts because I love doing them and it's a purpose for me. And if you get some seeds out of it, because I'm planting seeds, I'm planting seeds of awareness. Maybe I am, maybe I ain't, but I'm planting them and it's helping me for darn sure. So yes, I don't argue with people. When people really come charging at me with some crazy shit, I block them. That's all I do. I just block them. I don't engage with them. Ever since the pandemic, everything's online. I wish there was a place out here that I could go to with some people. Okay, maybe there is, but I've been looking. I just don't. And it has to be jived enough. It has to be vibed enough. It has to be enough for me to be getting something out of it because I'm not going somewhere where I want to go somewhere where I feel connection, enlightenment, learning something can help others, but in a different way. I think we're lacking in person because AA is still heavy in it. AA still got places all over the place. Okay. You know, that book, where's that book at? You can get a booklet, you can get a meeting booklet right in here, and there's hundreds and hundreds of meetings just in Orange County. Try to find a smart recovery meeting that you can go to. They're all online now. Let's get honest with even smart recovery. I had to pay for it to become a mentor. Researched and paid. I had to go out and seek a place to provide me with the meeting.
Mhm.
Very difficult to do that here in Orange County. Okay, I'm still looking. I can't find nothing. I had to do that. I had to make business cards up and flyers and pamphlets and all this other stuff. But what my thing is, we need more in person. Okay. So I'm doing all this stuff to become a sponsor, a mentor, or they call it a leader or
Yeah,
facilitator.
facilitator. Yeah, I did the facilitator
Facilitator.
training too a couple
Yeah.
months ago.
But I'm not going to do it online. I don't know because there's so many of them. If I ever found a place, I'd be the first one to do a in-person meeting before I do an online meeting. We need in-person meetings, I think. Maybe I'm just old school.
Are you talking about we need in-person meetings for people getting sober? Or is there some piece of you that still wants some sort of meetings to go to, even though you're not in recovery, like in recovery anymore, right? So what do you mean by we need meetings? Help me understand that.
I think society, when I say we, society needs the paradigm that I'm looking at is we're in recovery. We're in recovery. We're uncovering and recovering, but we're discovering, okay? Recovering from anything, everything, not just Alcoholics Anonymous. I think that's the missing link because people are just going for recovery for alcohol or this or that or blah, 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 when it's actually, it's deeper. I don't know if you follow that or not. It's almost like hard for me to put it into words with what's needed.
I don't feel like I need any more recovery from alcohol. I haven't had a drink since 2009. I've recovered from alcohol a very long time ago. I've recovered from the benzos. I've recovered from, I'd say, the majority of my childhood trauma. I've gone through a lot of recovery phases and seasons. I don't think that recovery needs to be a permanent thing, but there's been other things that have come up in my life that I've needed to recover from. Like I had a situation where I lived in a home with a lot of mold and that really messed me up. Then I had to recover from the mold. And that was a very real process that I went through. And I'm mostly out of that, I'd say, just like I'm mostly out of the trauma, I'd say. I'm mostly out of, I don't know that it's cut and dry, like you're totally done or out. Like recovery is not like that. Just like if you break your leg, you might always have a little bit of wobble after your cast or whatever. What I think I'm hearing you say, or more accurately, what I feel is true for myself, is that I like to have ongoing practices that I do that keep me out of fear and into my higher self or into who I want to become and keep my mind trained to move forward through resistance, through uncomfortable feelings, so that I can keep becoming the vision of myself that I want to keep becoming. And so that's not a recovering, it's more like a becoming journey, is what I feel like I'm on, where I'm more anchored to the present moment, wanting to enjoy some of the present, but also really moving myself forward into my vision versus recovering from my past. But things come up that I need to recover from. It might even be like a fight with a relationship that I need to spend the day recovering, or maybe even 2 days recovering from a conversation. But mostly the way I look at it is I'm more compelled by a vision, and then I have to ongoingly work through that fear and the stories that the lies that my brain tells myself, that I can't do it. I'm too old. I'm too young. I'm not smart enough. I'm not, whatever. I got to work through all the fear factory that pops up in my head when I go outside my comfort zone. So for me, I more look at it like I'm on a becoming journey versus a recovery journey. That's my perspective. I know I'm not right, but that's what's right for me right now.
Yeah, no, and I'm not talking about a recovery meeting, alcohol or drug recovery meeting. No,
Okay.
there's enough of that. I don't look, recoveryism is a movement. Ism means movement. Alcoholism, recoveryism. No, my whole podcast is escaping the multi-trillion-dollar, multi-level marketing recovery trap prison scam. Okay, so I'm not into that. I'm not into recoveryism. And as everyone knows, we were talking about recovering beyond, what was it? Recovering from recovery. I think you mentioned you were looking at Jack Triple. I don't know how we
Trippy?
say it. Trippy. Jack, that's an interesting podcast that I'll be doing. I researched deep with Jack stuff and
Rational recovery.
how smart took it over, okay?
Yeah.
How that transition happened. That's what I'm talking about when I talk
Yeah.
about uncovering, recovering, discovering the truth about societal stuff. To know the truth of where it went and how it went and blah, blah, blah. And
Yeah.
where the money's going, trickle down or going up or whatever.
I understand that leaving AA is a tremendous loss as far as community connection. There's a lot of grief there, right? And a lot of loss, especially when we're so used to having this plug and play social life and network and community and some genuine, like great connections. And there's always going to be someone there for you and you're showing up for people all the time. It's a tremendous loss. There's no denying that. For me, it was a tremendous loss and still is. And so when you say you want an in-person like meeting, I'm wondering if you could design a meeting that was near you that would be around what you wanted. Obviously, it's not recovering from alcohol anymore for you personally. What would that meeting be like? What would you want to do? Because this really, honestly, this really fascinates me personally because I have the same void. And I'm just, what would be your dream meeting? What would happen there? What would you guys talk about or do? And who would go? And what's the connection of it all? And let's fantasize. Let's create. Let's
It,
manifest.
it's almost like there'll be no books, but people can come in and they can bring a book and read a passage from it, a book, any book. There'll be no steps, there'll be no religious ideologies. I'm sure we'd have to say it was spiritual and what maybe it wasn't spiritual. These words screw with us so
Mhm.
much. As soon as we mention spirituality, then it's going to be whatever they understand about that word. That's all their perception. That's that reality about that word. So if I say, "Oh, let's create a spiritual meeting," oh, Bobby, more spiritual meeting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's very difficult to even put language to what my concept is.
What would be the benefit?
raising
Connection.
raising your raising your subconscious to your conscious, raising the conscious awareness.
I love it.
Period. Just becoming aware of the universal laws and just becoming aware of different things, just the easy, simple things that we don't do, simple things. You know, you're right. We do miss, I do miss that. I mean, I still today, there's times I want to quit this. I just texted somebody or said something to somebody. One of our comments on the podcast that we did, they said how appreciated us two got together on that podcast. I appreciate that, hearing that. There's so many times I wanted to just quit this, just quit it, and erase all my videos, erase them and say, what the fuck did I do? Holy shit. The guilt and shame
Mm.
that I still can go like that with. And then I got to come back. And that's another thing, learning how to come back quick. I don't use the word God, but letting go is an art form. Okay. It's an art. I can do it. I can let shit go like that. Okay. It'll come back. I can dismiss it because I know how to do it. Stuff like that. Little easy stuff, but not judging other people, but not accepting, having boundaries too. I want to talk about this for 1 second, 1 minute. Boundaries. Maybe you can give me a suggestion. If people call me and they are drunk because they're drunk, drinking a lot of alcohol, and when people call me and abuse me and say crazy, toxic shit and pushes my buttons, and I say, I'm not talking to you anymore and hang up, that's boundaries for me, and I will not tolerate that. Maybe I'm doing it wrong. I don't know. But what's your take on that? You know, just for the hell of it.
On trusting your boundaries or on talking to drunk people
So
or
talk what I just said, exactly what I just said about a conversation with a person that calls me drunk.
I probably wouldn't talk to somebody who's drunk. So I think my boundary would just be if they were a little bit buzzed, what there's a
No, I
difference in
know.
the scales. But so no, I have engaged in the past year or two with someone who has been past the line for me. I don't mind if someone's had a couple of
No,
drinks, but at a certain point, it's just so not, they're not even home. It's not even like, there's no point. Generally, my reaction is to say, I might even call it out. I don't know. I have a little bit of confrontation about me. I think because I've been gaslit so much, I will call out what I see as a part of it sometimes. I might just say, you know what? Like, you've obviously had a lot to drink. I don't feel comfortable right now. I'm going to come back at a time later when you're not drinking. I'm going to go now. And if I'm too emotionally heated in the moment, I might even just say, I have to go. I might not even be able to get those words out because I'm triggered or something and I don't want to get moved from boundary to asshole, right? I'll excuse myself in whatever way I can. I got to take care of myself. I don't have a problem with drinkers, but at a certain level, there's no point for me. It's like,
no, I'm the exact same way. I talk to people that drink on the phone, and some of them have many drinks, and they don't sound. I'm talking about severe intoxication, putting
right.
toxic shit out
There's
bad. They're wasted.
there
They say insanity is doing the same thing. Sometimes it feels like I'm insane because they're pushing my buttons and I'm reacting.
and there's no benefit. They're literally like they might not remember, they're not going to listen. There's no stopping them. The train is already going so fast, you can't stop it with your words. There's a momentum there. There's the hormones, the chemicals in the body. They're inebriated. There's no changing that by words. I've listened to some of your podcasts and I would guess by the ones at least that I listen to that part of who you want to help or who you're speaking to in at least in some of the episodes I've listened to are people that are still in AA and are wanting to do AA in a less dogmatic way because it seems like you're helping people deprogram while they're still inside versus saying leaving is the way or whatever. Is that accurate? Or I guess a better question is who are you speaking to? Who is your desire to help through your podcast?
Everybody,
Okay.
anybody. Anybody. It doesn't have to be a person that's addictive to anything. It could be a person that's just searching, seeking for some more information, knowledge, wisdom. Because my thing is deprogramming everything, reprogramming as the mind, neuroplasticity. My whole thing is creating your own program. That's my whole thing.
I love it. I'm obsessed.
If you want to say anything about Bobby C puts the message out. It's up to you. If it's meant to be, it's up to you. If it's meant to be, it's free and it's up to you. It's up to me. It's meant to be, it's up to me and it's free. Okay. It's up to, it's, That's why poor parents and grandparents, little do they know, it's got to come from them. Okay. It's sad. It is sad to see a loved one suffer. Okay. It's the most saddest thing. And then to have a loved one commit suicide,
Mm.
I can't even, that's like the ultimate. Okay. So my message, yeah, my message is always in every one of my podcasts, you are the creator. You are the solution. You are the cure. You are the way. Okay. That's what more can we say? And the
Yeah.
poor parents, grandparents, or loved ones, or friends, or families, we want to fix them, but we can't. They got to fix themselves. And help is a pointer to the way. Help is needed. Usually somebody else can help better than the family member. Okay.
Yeah. I love that. That's a really powerful message. And that's your what drives you, right? Is delivering that message because you've seen what it's like to not live that and you know how important it is to realize that. Is that right?
Yes, and it touches me still today. I'm living this. Okay. It's not like this is fake or this is just some motivational thing that I'm getting paid a lot of money for. I'm living this
Mhm.
thing. It's going on around me.
On April 6th of this year. It was the first time I ever said on the internet that I was ever in AA or that I left AA. I did it all at once. I was so scared. It went crazy on my Facebook page. I have never seen anything like that, where my Facebook page, the next 24 hours, I wrote a long post about I was in AA and I left, and it just like hundreds and hundreds, like my DMs, like everything blew up, and I was so scared. And then I had all this like coming at me and I was like, "Oh my God." And all these Me Too's privately. And I remember hearing from you that day that I came out of the closet. And I remember you said, "Please come on my podcast." And I remember writing you back. And I'd already seen your podcast on YouTube. So that's why it stands out of all the messages. It's not like anyone cared that I came out of the closet. It's like we're waiting for these conversations to become more mainstream. We are tapping into a need and a desire, nobody wants to be anonymous anymore. We want to tell the truth and we want to be able to be okay with whatever we decide. But I remember your comment because I had already seen your YouTube and you're like, come on my podcast. Do you want to come on my podcast? And I remember writing you back and I remember I literally came out of the closet 5 hours ago. I'm freaking the fuck out. And give me a day or two to calm down. Little did I know it took a little longer for fire that started on my Facebook page to calm down. But yeah, I was dying to talk to you and connect with you. So I'm really glad I got to be on your podcast last week or 2 days ago, I mean, and then to have you on my podcast and to hear more of your story. I love what you're doing. I love the core of it all. That's what I think this is all about. To me, it's all about conscious creation and all the work that I do, all the work that I want to talk about, all the work that I want to help somebody else through is whatever we need to do to come back to conscious choice. So whether that's triggers, whether that's emotions, whatever stories that we're telling ourselves in our mind, the deprogramming ideologies, always coming back to conscious choice. That's what I think it's all about. So I really resonate with like your heart in all of this and like what has you keep going even those times when your mind is like delete it all, end it all, be over, and then you come back to your heart, which is like, no, this is so important. Coming back to like knowing that we can choose and that we can create. It's so important, and it is. You're a gift.
Yeah, that's a power of choice, the power and freedom of choice, and that's the message, the power and freedom of choice. It's up to me, it's up to us to do it ourselves. Cause and effect. There's not enough people, cause is the thing that we say, do, think. That's the causal factor. That's the only thing we can change. We cannot change the effect because the effect cannot be changed. It's something that happens after the cause. If we drink a lot of booze, we get in a car, we caused the drinking, we did it. We take responsibility. That's what Alcoholics Anonymous wants to take from us. That's responsibility. We're responsible, okay? So when we drink a lot of alcohol or take a lot of drugs and we go drive, the accident is the effect. We can change us, the causal factor. We
Yeah.
can't change the effect and the consequences of it. Thank you for having me. So
Yeah.
I appreciate it. I really do. I
If
appreciate
it's
it.
gonna be, it's up to Bobby C or whatever your name is, fill in the blank. I love it. If
Yeah,
it's gonna
yeah.
be, it's up to Bobby C.
Yep. Yep.
If anybody wants to dive down the rabbit hole, deprogram and reprogram further with Bobby C through the Anonymous Addiction Deprogramming podcast, I'll link it below. I'll link your Facebook group below as well. Any last words?
Keep on deprogramming.
Yeah, you're powerful AF. Don't forget it.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank everybody
Bye-bye.
for watching. And please, in the comments, let us know what you think. What came up for you? What did you hear Bobby say? Or what came up in your mind? Let us know what you think. Look, it's great for me to have my own thoughts on what I think and Bobby C to have his thoughts. But I'm honestly more interested in your thoughts and the conversation in the comments because it's all about critical thinking and all of our thoughts coming together. So let us know what came up for you. Can't wait to hear from you in the comments. And maybe, can't promise it, but maybe Bobby C will come back to the comments and respond to some. So it is a vibe down there. See you in the comments. I hope you're vibing out there, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.
Vibe up, vibe on.